Back when CM Punk left WWE in January of 2014, he was arguably one of the biggest celebrities on the planet, both in pro wrestling and in the sports world, but also in general. And leaving left lots of anticipation for whether or not the superstar would return to pro wrestling. Now, we know that that hasn't exactly happened. He did have a brief stint on a WWE-related program called Backstage, but for the most part, CM Punk has been MIA from that world, though he did go into the UFC and he actually fought a fight in the UFC, which certainly was very, very disappointing, with Joe Rogan famously referring to CM Punk as just not a talented fighter and basically being about as discouraging as you could be about his fighting career. Well, CM Punk now is opening up about his fighting stint in the UFC. He still calls mixed martial arts fights, but talking about that stint, he talked about what went wrong with his in-octagon career. This from Wrestling Inc. It says CM Punk was on a recent episode of Oral Sessions with Renee Paquette when he opened up about his run with UFC. His last fight was back in 2018, and he lost to Mike Jackson by unanimous decision. Punk revealed that he wanted to pursue an MMA career when his contract expired in 2011. I always wanted to do it, and being on the road 8 days a week for how long WWE are on the road for, I could never train consistently. I had planned on leaving when my deal was up at the end of 2010 or 2011. That was kind of my plan, because I always thought I was going to train. I would need to, it would need to not just be a hobby for me. So the idea was I was going to leave. I needed time off anyways, but I would just devote a lot of time to full-time training. At that time, it wasn't a big enough name where everybody was going to be like, hey, it's a spectacle, it's a freak show, everyone wants to watch me. So I was just going to do it the right way. I was just going to train. I was going to do amateur fights. I was going to take my life in a different direction because I wanted to do it. And it says many fans have criticized Punk's UFC run, with some even considering it a failure. Punk responded to those remarks. He also said that he wanted to pursue an MMA career before he got too old, and he admitted that he was too old when he signed with the UFC. I appreciate his candor here, by the way. I think a lot of people out there who are critical of me and all the performances will say, oh, I'll get beat up for $1 million, but my retort to that was always do the work, and I did get to the point where my audience, where somebody could offer me that kind of money because there would be an audience to see my fight. 73 Twitter followers doesn't equate to $1 million payday for a fight, but like I said, everybody's path is different. And then I guess I got a little hot there at the end of my run in WWE and was faced with that opportunity. It was re-signed for 3 more years, though I was already shot. I was already pretty mentally and physically exhausted, and I obviously re-signed, and then that kind of delayed everything for another 3 years, and then it was like, let's do this before you get too old. God damn, it turns out I was too old. You got to respect his honesty there. And the thing about CM Punk, he gave that speech after that fight. I don't know if you guys remember that, but he gave that speech after that fight where he talked about, listen, yes, I lost this, but follow your dreams. I decided I wanted to be this UFC fighter. I wanted to go out there in the octagon and chase my dreams, and I did it, and I took a risk. I didn't win, but you know, that was the gist of what he was saying. And if he's right, I mean, yes, he's obviously not a great UFC fighter, but at least he did go out there and follow his dream and try something, take a risk, take a challenge. I'm sure he won't regret going out for the UFC. He got paid, and also he really challenged himself and pushed himself to his limits. In fights, there always has to be a loser, so it is cool, though. You know, it'll be interesting to see if CM Punk ever returns to WWE. Eventually, the money will make sense for him to come back, and I would not be surprised if he did come back. Or he ended up in AEW, which would also be very interesting. All right, folks, what do you think about this? Be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on breaking news and updates here at Rockfeed. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you all very soon.